The Produce Safety Alliance EPA-labeled Sanitizers for Produce web tool is a resource to help growers, packers, extension educators, and others look up sanitizers to make sure they are appropriate for their needs and legally labeled for use. The PSA does not endorse any particular product on this list. This list is a compilation of sanitizers on the market and is not comprehensive. Information in this tool comes exclusively from the EPA label and product labels representing the information from the manufacturer. Users are encouraged to consult the manufacturer, supplier, product label, or other resources to find technical information sheets and other valuable information about the product. We also recommend that users check that the sanitizer is labeled for use in their state before using one of the products listed here. The National Pesticide Information Retrieval System, or NPIRS, maintains a database of state pesticide registrations and is a useful resource. And lastly, although EPA labels may not apply internationally, the specific information in EPA labels can still be a valuable resource. The top of the tool lists the date that it was updated. Then we list a few tool use tips and additional notes that point users to other resources. The PSA Sanitizer tool is, first and foremost, a list of EPA-labeled sanitizers labeled for fruit and vegetable washing. The list also includes sanitizers labeled for irrigation water systems, non-porous food contact surfaces, and post-harvest water distribution systems. The PSA sanitizer list is divided into 3 color-coded sections. We have product name and active ingredient, EPA master label details, and product information. Depending on the size of your screen, there may be 2 vertical scroll bars. The bar on the far right lets the user adjust the tool upward. The other vertical bar, visible on smaller screens, scrolls within the sanitizer list. A couple of notes on using this tool. The search bar can be used to search the tool for any term, such as a product name, a registration number, or labeled uses. The column labels have hover text to give more detail on the contents of each column. And any of the column headings can be clicked on to sort by that column. Now let's walk through the tool. On the left side, we have 4 white columns. The first column, Compare, allows users to select and compare specific sanitizers in the same screen. The Compare function carries through all of the columns. The Reset button resets the website back to the original form. The Product Name column lists out specific product names. If a hyperlink is present, clicking on that link will open up the product label. The Name on EPA Master Label column includes the EPA registered name of the sanitizer. These names are listed as they appear on the federal EPA Master Label. We will talk more about the differences between the product label and EPA Master Label in a few minutes. Each sanitizer name is hyperlinked directly to the EPA website. By clicking on the hyperlink, you will be taken to that product's registration website. The EPA label can be accessed by clicking on the most recent date. The next column contains information on the sanitizer's active ingredient and strength. This next section of the tool is the EPA Master Label Details section. This section is separated into 4 categories: EPA Master Label, Pre-Harvest Labeled Uses, Post-Harvest Labeled Uses, and Efficacy Statement. The EPA Registration Number column lists the product's EPA registration number as it appears on the master label. This number is specific to the sanitizer. The second column lists the version date of the label included in the tool. For example, the labeled uses for AgChlor 310 are all based on the EPA label from 2024. The remaining categories summarize the labeled uses and efficacy statements for the sanitizer. The sanitizer that a grower uses must be labeled for its intended use. The pre-harvest labeled uses category lists pre-harvest uses such as irrigation water systems. Post-harvest labeled uses list products labeled for non-porous food contact surfaces, post-harvest water distribution systems, and fruit and vegetable wash water. If a product is labeled for that use, we list the page number where the instructions can be found in the master label. The last column in this section identifies products that are labeled to control human pathogens, or microorganisms of public health significance. This includes pathogens such as Salmonella enterica, E. coli 0157H7, and Listeria monocytogenes. If a sanitizer is labeled for human pathogens, the specific use is listed in the column. As an example, we see that antimicrobial fruit and vegetable treatment is labeled to control microorganisms of public health significance when washing fruits and vegetables. Some audits and regulatory requirements may require that the sanitizer be labeled to control microorganisms of public health significance in fruit and vegetable wash water in order to be an appropriate method of managing post-harvest water quality. Let's talk a little about the difference between the EPA master label and a product label. The EPA master label lists all approved uses for a given product. However, products may be sold under sublabels, also called split labels. These sublabels contain labeled uses and directions for only a portion of the approved uses on the EPA master label. We refer to these sublabels and split labels as product labels in the tool. The product label should always be consulted for the list of approved uses specific for the sanitizer product. The details listed in the sanitizer web tool are based on the EPA master label because in many cases, individual product labels could not be found. Product labels may also differ by state. For sanitizers with a publicly available product label, we compared the labeled uses in the product label and the EPA master label. If those labeled uses did not match, we added a note saying, allowed uses on product label differ from uses on EPA master label. This note indicates that the user needs to consult the product label because the labeled uses differ from those listed in the EPA label. Other notes include places where the EPA master label identifies state-level restrictions, for example in California. If you would like to see how to use this tool to find a specific product, check out our second recorded tutorial. The link is in the video description. And the last section of this tool is the product information section. The first column is the OMRI listing. This column identifies whether the product is listed by the Organic Materials Review Institute, or OMRI, for organic use. Growers should always check with their organic certifier before using new products on a certified organic operation. This column lists the amount of the product that can be purchased. This information is pulled directly from the EPA label. This information may be useful if a grower needs only a small or large amount of the sanitizer. The next column lists the manufacturer or distributor for each sanitizer. When the contact information was available, we added a hyperlink with that information to make it as easy as possible to contact the manufacturer or distributor with questions. And lastly, the notes section. I already mentioned the allowed uses notes that appear on several sanitizer listings. Other notes include additional information that might be relevant for each sanitizer. That concludes the tutorial for the PSA Sanitizer web tool. The tool can be accessed through the PSA website under the Sanitation section of General Resources. Special thanks to our focus group participants and colleagues who provided valuable input.